What's up, y'all? It's your boy Teleios again, your modern day David. I have a very, very, very good special message for you today. God just dropped this in my spirit, and I had to come and just write the notes, and here we are. So, what I want you to know is that God is saying, new season, new instructions. So, what God is saying here is that we need to get our minds off of the past. We hang on to the past too much. God said He's doing a new thing. Isaiah 43:18-19. He said, "Don't worry about the past. Don't consider the things of old, for I'm doing something new. Now it shall spring forth. Do you not perceive it?" He said, "Don't worry about the past and how I did things last time. I'm doing something new. You need to be paying attention to what I'm doing now in this season. Last season I already passed." He said, "Now it shall spring forth. Do you not perceive it?" He said, "Do you not see what I'm doing now? Pay attention." He said, "I will create a way in the wilderness, rivers in the desert." So the storyline in the Bible that God was showing me that relates to this message was the story of Moses when he struck the rock to provide water for the Israelites. So he did this twice. The first time, because the Israelites was in the place and they was complaining and they was saying, "Why you brought us out here? We ain't got no water," and blah blah blah, like they always did. And God gave Moses instructions to strike the rock. The second time, it was similar, but God gave Moses instructions to speak to the rock, and he didn't speak to the rock. He struck the rock again, and this was why Moses wasn't able to enter the promised land. And so, as we go deep into those stories, let's analyze what was different between the first scenario and the second scenario. So, before I get into that, I want you to know that there's a different way how God operates as you mature through your faith. Your last season is going to take a look. It's going to take you to become higher than this season, because God is going to do. He's not going to be there spoon feeding you. You are matured for a reason. You're matured through your faith for a reason. So He matured you from that last season. Now you're getting the same God, but He's operating differently because He's not spoon feeding you no more. So what happened in the first scenario of Moses, Exodus 17, chapter 17. In this scenario, God told Moses, He said, "Take the staff and go ahead of the community of Israelites and take a few elders with you." And He said, when you go to the rock, He said, I'll stand in front of you on the rock, and you are to strike the rock, and water will come out. And Moses did that, and the water came out. So keep that in your head. The second time, and Aaron was with Moses the second time. The second time, God told Moses, He said, "Take the staff and gather the Israelites." The first time, He told Moses to go before the Israelites, to go ahead of them to the rock. The second time, He told Moses to take the staff and gather the Israelites, and so that they could all see. And He said, "Speak to the rock." So Moses gathered the Israelites, and they was complaining, and he was frustrated, and he said, must we bring out water to y'all from this rock and whatnot? And then, see, in this first, before God gave me this greater revelation, I first thought that God told Moses he couldn't enter the promised land because he took it upon himself and said, must we bring out this water? And I thought it was just because he wasn't acknowledging God that way. But as I read in the scriptures, with the second scenario, God told Moses, He said, you ought to speak the rock. And He said, you will bring water for them and provide water for them to drink. So God was actually putting it in Moses' hand. But Moses struck the rock. He didn't speak to the rock. And that's when God said, you failed to present my holiness to the people. So what is the symmetry between this and your life? So in the first scenario, it represents our when God is building the maturity in our faith. When we are being spoon fed, God goes before us. He's standing in front of us to make sure that we are focused on Him. He's in plain sight, and He does it. He does the things for us, and we have to just have faith in Him. He's there step by step by step. You hear from Him more because He's establishing your faith, and also He has, just like Moses took a few elders with him. He went before the Israelites to the rock and took a few elders. You are in this season when God is building your maturity. You're probably in the wilderness season. You're being hidden. You are hidden in this season, but God has a few elders with you, witnesses who will be able to witness God's power working through your life. And so now, the first scenario, Moses struck the rock with the thing that God told him to use. The second scenario, and how it applies to your life, God gave Moses the power, and He told him to gather the Israelites. So God, in this season, and when you are matured in your faith with God, He has given you the power and the authority to speak for Him, to do the thing. He's not there step by step by step because you have been matured. He doesn't have to do all that. You don't have to hear from Him every single time. God has given you the wisdom. He has built in you the faith. He has built in you the power. And now you're not hidden anymore. People are seeing you. And now God is being exalted because He has exalted you. Because Moses was supposed to speak to the rock. If he spoke to the rock, the people would see that God was indeed working through Moses. Even more, it didn't need the material thing as the staff. But God wasn't exalted through Moses because the way He wanted to be, because Moses struck the rock with the staff. See, Moses was stuck in the past. He had the faith in the material thing that God was using, that He used in the past. But that's what God wants you to the mistake God doesn't want you to make. He wants you to know your authority that He has given you, because instead of being in front of you like He was the first scenario, God was standing in front of Moses on the rock. This time, as you are matured in your faith, He's standing with you. He's inside of you. He has given the power and authority. So He wants you to speak to the rock, meaning you're speaking for Him because He's speaking through you. You're being exalted because you will exalt Him. So since you're mature in your faith, let God use you the way He wants to use you. But don't expect to be spoon-fed. Use what God has put inside of you. And don't put too much focus on the material thing that God used in your last season. Don't put the way God is doing things, don't put the focus in the thing. Put the focus on God and put the trust in God. Speak to the rock. You have the power. He has given you the power and authority. Speak to it. Speak. And let God speak through you. Y'all be blessed. And y'all be mature in your faith. Let God complete that Teleios, complete faith in your life. In Jesus' name.